It's great to be here with my friend Frazer Robertson, with Technical Director now at the Right to Dream Academy in Ghana. Hi there, Frazer.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, good. I bet you it's a lot sunnier there than it is in Inverness anyway.
Yes, I mean, it's nice. It's nice today. I think it's maybe about 28, 30 today, so it's a nice temperature. It's nice to work in.
Yeah. So, you know what, I think I was speaking to you earlier before we came on the air, and I was just saying it'd be great to chat to you about, you know, your journey to Ghana, you know, what took you there, and a little bit about your career and your coaching. And I think there's so many opportunity for people in the football field now out with Scotland, and just because it's such a small world. And I would love to hear some of your experiences, you know, in the game and in coaching and working in a different culture as well. So to start off, could you just tell me a little bit about, and the folks a little bit about your football and how you got into the game and why you got into the coaching side of things?
Yeah, well, coaching, simple. Got into coaching because I wasn't a very good player, so that was the kind of the next option. So I was never really at that elite level of playing, and it was actually when I was 16. It was actually my PE teacher at school, a gentleman called Gordon Mothersall, who was a big St Mirren fan, and he was a coach at St Mirren, and he got me involved kind of volunteering, and it was basically a 2 year sort of picking up cones, laying out bibs, pumping up balls type thing, and it was great. And then it just kind of evolved from there. I started doing kind of part-time coaching at St Mirren in the community programme. Like a lot of people start volunteering in the community programmes, working, and then you kind of develop into doing community and doing the kind of youth academy side of it. And I did that. I worked at all age groups from the U9s, 10s, 11s, and kind of worked up. And then probably, I think it was about 2006. I think it was about 2006, I got the opportunity to become the SFA development officer for St Mirren Football Club. So I could continue working at St Mirren, working within the academy, but working with the SFA, which was a great experience to be able to work with both. You got the benefits of working with the FA, and then obviously the benefits of still being at the club. So that was my kind of first. I was probably about mid-20s then when I got the first kind of full-time role, which was getting to that stage where it was right. Okay, is this just going to be a hobby, and I have to start doing something with my life? But I was fortunate enough to get a full-time job in football, which we all know isn't easy to come by. So it was great to get that first opportunity with the Scottish FA and St Mirren.
And when you were talking about St Mirren, I always smile because, as Stephen McGarry refers to it, as the home of football. I was there.
Yeah, well, obviously Stephen was there. I think Stephen's the same age as me, or a year older than me. Obviously Stephen was there as a young player, came through and was kind of a fan's favourite, being a local boy, fan. His family, a massive St Mirren family and stuff like that. So it was a great story for Stephen, and he's doing really well now out in Australia.
I was speaking to him a few weeks ago, and it was great. He's a great guy. And you know what you were saying there, though, Frazer, what strikes me just about that little bit there is when, you know, I'm sure you're kind of into, you know, picking up the cones for 2 years, but was that a career? Did you see coaching as something you wanted to do?
At that point, I never imagined it would develop into what it has. And I always say to people, I'm fortunate to have a job, because there's plenty of people in the world that are struggling to find employment at anything. So one, I'm very fortunate to have a job. Two, I'm really fortunate to have a job that's a hobby. Something that I did because it was interested me. I enjoyed it, but I never thought it would have taken me to where I am today. And getting that opportunity even to go full time with the SFA in St Mirren was like great. It was a great opportunity with that. So it's been really fortunate. I know that there's not a lot of people. I mean, I speak to a lot of my friends and who don't work in football. I've got a lot of friends that are in football at various levels, whether that's with the FA or whether that's with clubs. I've also got a lot of friends who don't work in football, and I always say to them, would you do your job if it was a hobby? And they're like, no chance. So I think I'm really lucky that if I worked in a bank, if I did another type of job, I still think I'd want to do coaching, which a lot of people do, like people from the grassroots game, which these guys are so important for the development of football at senior level as well. And these guys have a full-time job, a career away from football, and they still have that passion to go and coach at night and work with players who are part-time at professional clubs as well. Sorry, coaches who are part-time at professional clubs. They still have another job. So I'm really fortunate that this is my job full-time.
And I think it's great to hear there, because it's such a striking story. You know, just the age you're saying there is how many hours you would have put in almost learning your trade. People forget that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that, I'm not sound like an old man here, but it's something that's kind of lost a little bit. It's not until you look back on it that you realise, oh yeah, because at the time you don't see it as, oh, I'm doing this because I want to get here. Yeah. You're doing it because you have an enthusiasm, you want to learn.
Yeah.
And back then, it's like, I remember, like, even when I was working in the community programme, just going along to like kind of youth sessions and going along and helping and just watching, and you had to be active and actually get out the house and go and do it. Nowadays is maybe not so much, because you can sit at home, you can go online, you can look, and there's so much great, and it's a great thing that there's so many resources online for coaches and for young coaches, for any coaches. I still believe though there's nothing better though than actually getting out and getting on the grass, whether that's assisting, whether that's coaching, whether that's just observing. I think if you can merge the two together with the resources and everything, the positive stuff you can get online nowadays, but also with that kind of getting out and getting on the grass, I think that's so important.
Yeah, I would agree totally, because in the end, it's a people game, isn't it? You know, you can have all the theory, but it's that relationship with people.
Yes, and that's maybe what's missing just now. I mean, like, I think like a lot of people, Zoom meetings, it's like I've had so many Zoom meetings over the past few months, and you've been able to sit down and think about things and plan things, but you do miss that kind of connect, like talking to coaches on Zoom, talking to players and stuff like that on the phone. It's not the same with that kind of. So that I think that's massive.
I know. We'll be having that virtual reality helmets next in the Zoom, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I can see it coming. I'm laughing, but I can see it coming. Tell me a little bit about, you know, your journey to the Right to Dream Academy, because that's a great story there. And
so, obviously, as I said earlier, with my first kind of job with the SF in St Mirren, so did that until 2000. I think it would have been 2009. It was the same time St Mirren sold their training ground. Sold the stadium, the old stadium, built the new stadium, and then had the training ground at Ralston. So around about that time, the club kind of decided to kind of shuffle things up and try and develop things more. So I was offered the opportunity to become assistant head of youth development and work beside David Longwell, who was the head of youth development at the time. And we'd always worked close together anyway before, when he was head of youth and I was head of the community department. So then I came away from the football development officer and went full-time with the academy, which was a great experience again. And then fast forward to 2013, and I got the opportunity to come out to Ghana and work at Right to Dream. And it actually came from a coaching course, one of the B licence course that I was on. The B licence and actually the A licence, I was on the course with a gentleman called Gareth Henderby, who's Scottish as well. He's from the Borders. But he's been in Ghana for about probably 19 years. And most recently, he's moved to Denmark. So I met him there, and we kind of kept in contact from time to time. And then 2013, he spoke to me about coming out to Right to Dream as head coach to begin with. So I came out to Ghana for a week to see the place. St Mirren were great with me with it. I was very honest with them and asked them for the time off to go out and spend a week in Ghana before I made my decision. And it was great to David, Brian McCausland, and Brian Caldwell at the time, who were there and who I spoke to, and they gave me that time to go away and make the decision and come out to Ghana for a week, come back, and then I made the decision. I thought, right, okay, let's try something new, let's try a new experience, personally and also from a work perspective. So came out here and it would have been August 2013.
And how's the academy set up then? I know it gets great praise, and it's about creating players and people. How's it set up and how does it work?
So it started in 1999 by an English gentleman called Tom Vernon, who was out kind of working. I think he was out kind of volunteering, doing some work in Ghana. And he was also a scout, an African scout for Manchester United. So I think he's seen the potential of the talent that was in Ghana at that time, and started to kind of start basically a one-team academy. And basically over the years, fast forward to now, we now have a fully residential academy. We have approximately about 90 students. We are the first African academy to have a girls program, residential, so a girls program as well as a boys program. And basically it's about developing individuals through football. But our priority is to try and develop players, develop people, good people that can then go on and have a good career in football or a good career through their education and maybe another walk of life. So it's about giving opportunity for people to have a better life, to then improve, as we do at all academies. So the big emphasis is on education, various education, academic education, but also life education, character development, and then also football as the driving tool for that.
You know, that's superb. Do you notice when you first went over do you notice differences in the approaches to the game from the players in Ghana to Scotland? Or is there not? Is it just the same, love the game, or is there any differences?
I think it's hard to see. I think there is a more of a. It's hard to say the value who loves the game more. I think young people, wherever they are in the world, they love football. I think what happens here, there is more of a. Again, it's sounding like an old man again, but we talk about back home in Scotland and the UK that street football doesn't exist. That's what kids. You see that here everywhere. There's still street football. Kids just playing against each other. 10 aside, 15 aside, 2 aside. There's everywhere you go, and it's not just kids; it's adults as well.
Brilliant.
They still have that kind of love for the game. Whereas here's an area we might not even have goals, but we'll play football. That's one thing that jumped out for me straight away. And the football they play is very, very open, very expansive, very expressive. It's not like probably we grew up. Everything was always towards a goal, and it was always scoring a goal, and it was always about. Whereas here, it's just about it's more of possession, like small goals. It could be 15 aside with really small goals, and they'll play, they'll possess, and it's great to watch actually sometimes. So it's really positive.
That must have been, and I'm just guessing. You know, when you're talking about the street football, I'm just thinking about my own perspective. That must have been really refreshing to see that again, because I think we're certainly in Scotland, is that everyone I speak to, and myself, there's almost a nostalgia for that. So it must have been really refreshing. I'm imagining to go bang into that.
It was great, and you see it all the time. Like you can just stand and watch a game from any time of the day. So it was really nice, and it actually reminded me a little bit of kind of playing street football and stuff. To be honest, the level out here of the street football is a higher level than what I remember playing street football. The level is very high.
Brilliant. And I know you've got, the relationship with Denmark. Can you tell me a little bit about the relationship with the club in Denmark?
So that relationship kind of happened, or partnership, or kind of merging the two together happened in the start of 2016, so January 2016, where the owner and founder of Right to Dream and a group of businessmen basically bought FC Nordsjælland in Denmark. So Tom, the idea of it was two. It was to give an opportunity for the players that we had in Ghana, a pathway into Europe. Because previously, before that, at 18, our players then would go to various clubs across Europe. They could have been going anywhere. But now we had this pathway into professional football. So before 2016, it was always get them to 18, because the players can't leave until they're 18. Get them there, and then we access professional clubs for them in Europe through connections and kind of relationships that we had. we wanted to try and, I say that the owner wanted to try and find some sort of club in Europe that we could also have an influence in their development and then help them in that next stage of their career. And then secondary, it was to try and develop another academy structure, the same as Right to Dream, with the same kind of model. So there was kind of two Right to Dreams. So you're not just filtering in the best players from Right to Dream, you're filtering in the best players from FC Nordsjælland's academy. And not myself, but there was a lot of people who did a lot of research, a lot of work. A lot of work went into it, probably 12 to 18 months work of finding the right country, but then also the right club within that country. And FC Nordsjælland was a great fit because they already had a strong academy. They believed in youth players. They were known for developing young players, and they had the same kind of ethos and values of ourselves. So it was a good club to link with and to merge the two organisations together. So that happened in 2016. Since then, we've developed an international academy type model as well, where we have the best of the best playing in international tournaments and friendlies across the world.
And that sounds incredible. It sounds incredible. And I've noticed certainly this year more and more press coming out about the success of it. The academies, and is that gratifying to see that?
Yeah, for me, the best part is actually seeing the players progress from both academies. Obviously, my time is spent between Ghana and Denmark, so you get to see the players coming through in Denmark as well, and then seeing the boys together, integrate together, and play together in the international academy, and then to see them progress into the first team together is excellent. At the moment, from Right to Dream, I think we have 13 players who have came from Right to Dream are now at Nordsjælland, and 9 of those players are a part of the first team, or 10, sorry, are a part of the first team, which is great to see. But then there's also another probably high amount of percentage of players, Danish players, who are in the first team squad came from the academy at Nordsjælland as well. So there's probably, I don't know exactly, but I would be estimating probably 80-85% of the first team squad have came from one of the academies, and that's what we want.
That's incredible, isn't it? Because it's just so rare, isn't it? Certainly, if you look at most Scotland or the European, that you've got that percentage coming from the academy. And
that's what's been the owner's vision. It's also what's been the board vision. Both boards, the board of Right to Dream and the board of FC Nordsjælland. That's what their vision has been. It's been good that FC Nordsjælland already had a mentality and a principle of playing young players as well. And then it also goes down to, for me, I say this a lot, you could have the best youth setup anywhere, but your first team manager, whoever's in charge of that first, has to be youth orientated as well. And we've been fortunate enough that the first manager was Kasper Hulmand, and now is Flemming Pedersen, who had previously been at FC Nordsjælland before Right to Dream. So they knew the club. They had instilled a lot of principles and stuff at the club, which has been great. But they believed in youth as well, and they gave the players the opportunity. So it's from top to bottom, from under 10 first team. You've got to have that mentality, and it's great to have it.
Brilliant. And since you've been out there, Frazer, what have you learned as a coach? Is there anything that you've learned as a coach applying your coaching principles out in Ghana that you've adapted or you've learned to do? Or
I think like anywhere, the more you do something, the longer you do something, the more you learn and the more you develop. And I think we should always, when you look back, you think, okay, you think back 5 years ago, what you knew then, you thought I was doing okay, and then you look at it now and you think, I didn't know anything back then compared to. And I've been fortunate that I have been in an environment. I started at a good place with St Mirren, which was a great place to start and learn and develop. And then I came to Ghana, and that was been great development for me personally, as a person, and as well as a coach, working with different players. Obviously, working with different players in terms of different culture, obviously different language as well. We have some francophone players as well who maybe come in and don't speak any English. They learn English, so try to learn how to communicate with players on a language perspective, obviously as well. Even Scottish accent isn't the easiest to understand as well. So even even with Ghana being an English-speaking country is good, but not everyone can understand the Scottish.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, so even little things like that, thinking about more of, I think I was very bad, and sometimes I am, and I think as coaches, sometimes we're all bad for it, for sometimes talking too much. It's always like we say, we've talked too long there. That really helped me because I realised, especially early on, if I talked too long or there was too much text in my talk, then a lot of it was lost. So I had to think a lot more about what I was actually going to say before during training sessions, and think of the words that I was going to use as well. And that was something different, where in Scotland you would think, okay, that's my coaching points, I'll make them. Where I was actually having to think about, right, what am I actually going to say to make that point, to make sure that there's no lost in communication type thing. So that has helped me, I think, by getting your point across maybe simpler and shorter.
I think that's a great point there, Fraser. I think, and you were put in that situation where and we talk about it a lot, emotional intelligence, about how do I get this point across that people can understand. And I think it's a great credit to you that you're able to do that, isn't it? Because it's actually another level of thinking, I think.
Yeah. And I was bad for it. I think I know I was very bad for it. It's when you get that impression someone doesn't understand you, you actually talk more, which then sometimes just makes it even more worse because you're just adding more into it. So it was great for my development with that, to do that. On the pitch, obviously coaching has been good. It was not hard because we never knew where the players were going before we had the club in Denmark. It was kind of hard. Obviously, you go from St Mirren and you make the reference point of the first team, which you've always got when you're at a club. Whereas before, we didn't have a club that we were going to. We were just an academy that developed players. So how we developed them was a little bit broader. We had to prepare them for maybe various situations because we knew that they got into certain situations where one manager might ask them to do one thing, but another manager might ask them to do another thing. So we had to prepare them for different situations. It wasn't a case of, this is what we want at this club. We had to say to them, look, some managers might ask you to do this, some managers might ask you to do this. The easiest one to describe is like, show them in the park or show them out the park. And if we only coached them final third, show them away from goal, for an example, and they went to a club in Europe where the manager wanted to show them in the way, the players would be like, oh, I've only been coached to show them out the way type thing. So we had to prepare for various situations. So that was a different side of coaching for me, because we had to think, okay, this is an option which is correct, and this is what I would like you to do, but this is also an option which is correct, which other coaches might ask you to do as well. So preparing them for that, because with football, for me, there's no right and wrong. There's why. So why do you do it this way? Okay. Or why do you do it that way? All right. Okay. If you can give a valid reason why you do X, Y, or Z, then it doesn't mean A, B, and C is wrong, because they both can be equally right depending on your preferences.
That sounds superb, and I think it's not a cliche to say this. You can see your enthusiasm for the job you're doing, and it's more than a job there. It's because it really is coaching in a life transforming environment, isn't it? It's not just saying, oh, football can make you a better person or do this. It's the all round holistic coaching you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely that holistic approach with everything to try and develop. Obviously, for me, I'm a big believer, and that's something that I've developed here as well. Is if you invest in the person, then the product of investing in a person and the human, it will improve them as a footballer as well. Instead of thinking, okay, let's improve the player. Let's get to know the person, improve the person, or help improve or guide them, and that effect will also improve them as footballers as well.
Great message. If you had any messages for a coach that's thinking of going to a different culture, what would that be?
It's a good question. I've been asked that before. My first thing to say is to learn about the culture that you're going to, not the football culture. Football is football. You have different cultures, but the game is still 11v11 or 9v9 or 7v7, depending on what age. The game is still 11v11, still has 2 goals. The lines are the same wherever you go in the world. But for me, that would be secondary to learn about the football culture, the style of play, how they play. The first thing, the advice that I would give is actually try and learn about the culture of the country that you're going to. And that is a matter how you're going to build relationships. I was lucky that when I came here, I worked with a lot of good local staff who taught me a lot about the culture of Ghana. Rather, not the culture of football, but the culture of Ghana. And that helped me build relationships, one with the staff, but also one with the players. And it's little things like just terminology, because words have a massive impact. And some words in some culture mean nothing, like totally nothing. Yeah. But those same words could actually be very disrespectful or very insulting and little things like that. Whereas these little things, or even little actions, is like just little things that culturally that could be deemed as rude or it could be deemed as disrespectful. Whereas maybe in a Scottish culture or a UK culture, it would mean nothing. And these are the little things you pick up, and you only pick these things up by, one, asking questions, but also embracing the culture that you're going to and actually experiencing things. And that was the advice that I got from Gareth and also Tom. And it was probably the best bit of advice that I'd got from them. And it was very helpful that they told me. They said, you need to try and build a life for yourself outside the academy. And get out, because we live in a complex and we live at a residential, you could quite easily live in the bubble and not actually experience where you're at, the country that you're living in. So the best advice that I would give for any coach or anyone, whether they're a coach or not, wants to go and live in another country, is put yourself into the culture and learn about that. And once you do that, the secondary thing, your job, whether it's coaching, whether it's anything, teaching, will actually help you in that as well.
Brilliant. So that's some great advice, and you know, that for people as well, because it's such a small world now. I think there's opportunities to go and coach and live and experience so many cultures that wasn't there, or if it was there 20 years ago or 10 years ago, it was hard to get to. Now I think the world's such a small place. So
you see that, it's amazing, and especially football. I've been very, very fortunate. Again, another thing that I've been fortunate about is the amount of travel with the players, and I've been fortunate to travel all over Europe. The past few years, we've been going to Japan. I've been in Japan, I think, five times now in the past 3 years, in games. And we talk about how the players are so lucky, but the staff are so lucky. As a throwback, coaches always say, the players don't realise how lucky they are now. You hear that a lot from coaches everywhere. I think, well, we don't realise how lucky we are as well, because we get to experience it with them as well. And going to Japan as a part of my job to play in a football tournament has been great. But that cultural experience has been excellent as well.
Incredible. So that's great. It's been speaking to you, Frazer, and it's a great inspiring journey, your journey, even so far for coaches there to go and get out of the comfort zone, experience other cultures, take a risk. And as you said there, what you're doing is what you're encouraging the players to do, isn't it? It's developing yourself as a person, not just the football side.
Yeah, I think they go hand in hand. If I can develop myself as a person, then hopefully that knock-on effect will then help me within my job. And yeah, it definitely was a big decision to make. People thought I was mad. People, it was like, what are you doing? And I was like, no, it was the right thing. And to be honest, you do have moments of what have I done? I remember when I first arrived, the very first night I arrived late at night. There'd been a problem with my flight, so I arrived a day later because I'd get delayed and stuff like that. And I remember going into my apartment at the complex, and it was late at night, no one was about. And I remember just going in and putting my bag, and I went to bed, and it was this kind of moment of, what have I done? This isn't a joke anymore. This is, and then I got up the next day and started my first day in the job, and 7 years later, I'm still here, and every day has been a great experience.
That's a great message to finish on. You know, every day is a great experience. You can't ask for more than that, Frazer. Thanks for taking the time out to speak to me today.
No problem. Thank you for asking. It was great. Thank you.
Cheers.